Hi, I'm Deborah Ann Clement, and today I am going to speak about Jupiter because, as the planet of luck, success, and abundance, it's no surprise that Jupiter transits inspire great expectations. Still, there are times when Jupiter transits come along, and by the time they're over, you're left feeling like you've been the victim of some giant cosmic ripoff. So, what gives? Well, I'll tell you, there are five major reasons why Jupiter transits to the horoscope can disappoint. And once you understand them, it'll certainly help you avoid a Jupiter letdown. Number one, planetary spoilers. So, a planetary spoiler is a competing transit that diminishes Jupiter's influence. All right, so let's say Jupiter is making a connection and aspect, something very favorable to your natal chart, promises money, promises love. Let's go with money. At the same time, there's another transit to your chart that's also speaking to money from Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto. But whereas Jupiter is promising, let's say, abundance, well, the other planet, it's not speaking as kindly to money. In fact, it's challenging. And so the influence of that stronger planet and its aspect, okay, diminishes or overpowers Jupiter's influence. Now, it will depend on the other planet. It will also depend on the other aspect. And by all means, it doesn't mean that you just end up with nothing. But you certainly can end up with a lot less than, let's say, you expected just looking at Jupiter. Unfortunately, planetary spoilers are beyond our control. But one of the benefits of astrology is that or your astrologer, can see it coming. If you look ahead, right, predictive astrology, you can see the influences coming and you get excited over the Jupiter. But if you see something also is going on with, again, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto, you can, number one, manage your expectations, but also depending upon that competing transit, the planet as well as the aspect, you might even be able to take some prior action to reduce its influence and to get a little bit more of that Jupiter benefit. Now, the second reason, the natal promise just wasn't that promising. So this one is also beyond your control. And what I mean by the natal promise wasn't that promising is this: Jupiter's role, right, is to expand whatever it touches. And it is associated with success and riches and abundance. And when it touches or connects or aspects, right, one of your planets, well, it's going to expand the potential of that planet. And here's the thing: some of your planets hold more promise than others. So the extent of any potential blessing that would be triggered by a Jupiter transit will depend upon the condition of the planet receiving it. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, and let's say transiting Jupiter is going to come and make a conjunction to your natal Venus. And we are assuming, by the way, there are no planetary spoilers. Okay, so we're hoping for the big financial windfall. Jupiter is coming to conjunct your Venus. Whether or not that comes to pass is going to depend on the promise, the financial promise that your Venus holds in your horoscope. So if your Venus is well supported, all right, you could be on the receiving end of some big bucks. But if your Venus isn't well supported, all right, if there are some, very hard aspects to it, let's say, that speak to financial issues, well, then I have to say, don't really expect this transit to bring you bundles of cash. And again, it doesn't mean that you won't get anything. It's just when you think of, Jupiter, Venus, it's raining money, that would be an unreasonable expectation. Now, another reason very often Jupiter transits disappoint is because honestly, you expected it to fall into your lap. Jupiter doesn't, well, I shouldn't say Jupiter doesn't. Jupiter very often can do that. It does happen, but oftentimes it doesn't. Jupiter doesn't always deliver its blessings completely assembled. It usually and comes in the form of an opportunity. Okay, it can come, just there it is, like a treasure delivered to your doorstep. But it often comes in the form of an opportunity that requires some action on your part to really make it blossom. It could come, okay, the form of a social opportunity. You get an invitation to go somewhere. You take the person up on it. You go, you meet the love of your life. Or maybe you get an email from a former coworker, right? Haven't heard from them forever, and they tell you about, hey, here's an available position, and it sounds like your dream job. You had to go to the party or whatever, and you have to follow up on that email, right? If you want that dream job, you've got to take some action. You get it. Reason number 4, the double-edged sword of abundance. So when we think of Jupiter abundance, we think of riches, we think of love, we think of happiness, we think of all good things. And listen, most of the time that's what it is, but there are times when Jupiter's amplifying influence can bring a large quantity of something undesirable. Case in point, let's talk about money. Okay, if transiting Jupiter comes into the second house, right, your second house of money, it is common that while it's there, it will coincide with some increase in money, in income. Maybe there's a promotion, maybe you get a pay raise, maybe you change jobs, but there can be some more resources. However, since the second house also rules expenditures, Jupiter's presence here could actually coincide with an increase in spending. Now, that may not be a bad thing, because while such payments could be, they could be discretionary purchases. You finally have the money, right, to splurge on something. They can also coincide with costly expenses, right, and maybe necessary ones, depending, other things may be going on in the chart. But another example I want to say is transiting Jupiter to the 6th house. 6th house is the house of employment. It's the house of work. And so if you are interested in maybe changing jobs, or you want to look for a new job, Jupiter coming to the 6th house is very helpful. Can absolutely help you get another position. But the other side of it is, it's also, and it's your daily routine. I want to mention that as well, because Jupiter expands what it touches. And so your daily routine could get fuller, and that could be a good thing. But it could be that you're taking on a lot more obligations, because the 6th house is a house of work and service, right? And it is, in astrology, it's Virgo is a natural ruler of the 6th house, which tends to be a lot of, I hate to say grunt work, but it is. And so your job may still be good and it may still be secure, but you could be having more work to do. Maybe somebody, I don't know, they've taken a leave of absence, or someone's not working, something happens, and more falls onto your plate, more responsibilities, a little bit of more, I'm going to say, obligations. And so while it may not be something with a person, you're pulling your hair out over it, the point is Jupiter can expand your daily routine, so to speak, in a way, you'd rather have more time to relax as opposed to, oh, now I've got more work to fill that time. So that's what I mean by the double-edged sword of abundance. And number 5, it's your circumstances at the time of the transit. In other words, really, what have you been doing up until now? And we have to consider that, because every action we have taken, right, it's led us to this very moment. And so here comes Jupiter, and Jupiter may be poised to help expand the career, bring a job opportunity, let's say. Well, whether or not it works out could depend upon what you've done until this point. And we could say, well, do you have, sufficient experience? But let's say there's an opportunity and they do require a certain degree or a certain course study, and you haven't completed it. well, then it's not going to happen. So that's what I mean by circumstances at the time of the transit. Okay, so where does this insight leave you? Well, it leaves you prepared to work with the energy and to help manage your expectations. And I do want to say this, make no mistake, Jupiter transits can and do deliver big time. It's just that depending on these 5 factors, they may not deliver that way every time. So if you enjoyed this presentation, please share it with your like-minded friends and family, and be sure to subscribe to Shortcut to the Soul podcast on your favorite streaming service. I'm Deborah Ann Clement, and until next time, may Jupiter's blessings be your constant companion.
We hope you've enjoyed this presentation. For more information about studying astrology with Deborah or to schedule a consultation, please visit deborahclementastrologer.com.